Taxation without representation, trade restrictions, and the presence of British troops fanned flames of rebellion. Washington, once a loyal subject of the crown, grew weary. He wasn't impulsive, he wasn't radical, but he was principled. When the Second Continental Congress met in 1775, Washington arrived wearing his military uniform. His message was quiet but clear. He was ready. When offered command of the Continental Army, he accepted, not with boast, but burden. "I do not think myself equal to the command I am honored with," he said. "But, as the Congress desires it, I will enter upon the momentous duty." Chapter 6. The Reluctant General. The early days of the Revolutionary War were desperate. Washington commanded farmers, fishermen, and merchants, under-equipped, under-trained, and underfed. Yet he refused to yield. At Boston, he forced a British evacuation. At New York, he endured defeat but kept the army alive. At Trenton, in the dead of winter, he crossed the icy Delaware and struck back, reviving a cause many had written off. Washington lost more battles than he won. But he won the one that mattered, the trust of his troops. He led not from a throne, but from the field. He shared their hunger, he endured their cold, and when given extraordinary powers, he never abused them. He ruled not by fear, but by example. Chapter 7. Holding the Center. Throughout the long years of revolution, Washington's greatest achievement may not have been any single battle, but the fact that he kept the army together. He navigated mutinies, supply shortages, political infighting, and whispers of replacing him. At Valley Forge in 1777-78, his troops suffered brutally from cold, disease, and despair. But Washington held them steady. He brought in Baron von Steuben to drill them. He wrote endlessly to Congress, pleading for aid. He stayed when he could have retreated. His presence was the glue. And when victory finally came in 1781 at Yorktown, it was Washington who accepted the British surrender, not with triumphalism, but solemn resolve. Chapter 8. Surrendering Power. 1783, with the war won, Washington shocked the world. He resigned his commission. He went home. No man had ever done that. Kings kept power, generals claimed thrones. But Washington, perhaps for the first time in modern history, chose to walk away. Even King George III, when told of Washington's resignation, reportedly said, "If he does that, he will be the greatest man in the world." Washington's act became the cornerstone of the American experiment. Power, he showed, could be entrusted to the people and returned without violence. Chapter 9. The Nation Calls Again. Retirement didn't last. In 1787, Washington was unanimously chosen to preside over the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Though he said little during the debates, his presence gave the proceedings legitimacy. When the Constitution was ratified, the people called again. In 1789, George Washington was elected the first President of the United States, with every electoral vote. No campaign, no ambition, just service. He would build a presidency from scratch. He would define a country still searching for its soul. When the Constitution was ratified, the people called again. In 1789, George Washington was elected the first President of the United States, with every electoral vote. No campaign, no ambition, just service. He would build a presidency from scratch. He would define a country still searching for its soul. Part 2. Forging a Nation. Chapter 1. Building the Presidency. On April 30, 1789, George Washington stood on the balcony of Federal Hall in New York City, placed his hand on the Bible, and took the oath of office as the first President of the United States. The crowd below roared, bells rang, but Washington himself was not celebrating. "I walk on untrodden ground," he said. "There is scarcely any part of my conduct which may not hereafter be drawn into precedent." He knew the weight of every word, every step, every silence. Washington's task wasn't just to lead a government, it was to define it. The Constitution was a framework, but how to fill it in, how to execute laws, how to interact with Congress, with foreign powers, with the people. Chapter 2. Establishing Order. Washington surrounded himself with capable advisers, launching what would become the president's cabinet. Thomas Jefferson became Secretary of State. Alexander Hamilton took on Treasury. Henry Knox managed war, and Edmund Randolph became Attorney General.